Do the branches of a tree get higher as that tree grows? This is a question that I myself have even pondered, and I recently had a viewer comment in one of my videos, and I've been asked it many times. So finally, we're gonna make a really quick, no nonsense, straight to the point video for you all if you have wondered the same question yourself. Hello everybody and welcome back to Expedition Homestead. I hope you are having a beautiful day. So if we've got a tree limb growing horizontally on our property, on our beautiful new sapling that we're ready to grow in our yard, or perhaps it's been established there for a while and you're just wondering if that tree limb is gonna grow higher as the tree also grows along with it? Well, I've got the quick and easy answer for you, and that is no. The horizontal tree limbs and branches are not going to grow higher off the ground. If we take a look at how the tree grows, essentially it's going to establish itself with this very high energy density seed, right? It's going to pop out of the ground with its cotyledon leaves. Now, that itself is going to grow up here and wiggle up to the sky. And then from that point, it is in a fractal type of a pattern, depending on if it's a monocot or a dicot, that fractal will have a different type of pattern. But essentially, the tree grows like this. We've got our very first two leaves that pop up out of the ground. And then from that point, we establish the trunk of the tree or that sapling. And off of that trunk, branches will grow, and off of those branches, more and more branches will grow, hence why we call it a fractal, because these are fractals upon each other. If our tree branches were supposed to get higher and higher off the ground, then we wouldn't be able to grow using this fractal pattern, because that's not how fractals work. They're not ever expanding from every point at the same ratio. So if our tree branches were supposed to get higher and higher off the ground, this is how the tree would have to grow. It would have to expand equally across all parts constantly all the time. Maybe not equally, don't quote me here. I'm not going to go through all the science of how this stuff works. Although I could make like a 25-minute video if I really wanted to on this, because it is so incredible how nature works and all the beautiful mathematics behind it as well. It's really intriguing. But in a very simplified form, this is how this would have to grow in order for those branches to get higher off the ground. It would have to expand in all directions, and that's not what the tree is doing. It's not expanding in all directions. Instead, it's creating a fractal pattern. Now, that branch is going to grow thicker in diameter over time, up to a certain point that the tree naturally allows, depending on what is encoded in that tree, depending on how God has created that tree. But it's not going to get higher off the ground. I think the reason why a lot of people have this misconception is because we've all seen the picture, online meme of like the car lifted way up the ground. It's like 5-10 feet, whatever, off the ground, just completely encased in that tree. Or the picture of the bicycle that's also lifted off the ground. In these photos, it appears as if those were laying next to the tree has overtaken them, has sucked them into its grips, and as the tree is growing, it's also lifting those objects up higher. Now, I am not sure how these pictures happened, if they, tied up the bike up in the tree or something and then it grew into it. I have no idea. I wasn't there. I wasn't watching it grow for 100 years to watch it lift off the ground. So I couldn't tell you how that happened, but I can tell you that your horizontal tree branches must be 8 o'clock. Okay. There we go. All right, back to the video. So those horizontal branches are not going to get taller. So if you've got to get around that tree to perhaps cut the grass or trim it or it's in a pathway or something like that, and you're wondering, is this branch always going to be 5 feet tall and always going to be in my way? Yes, it is. If you've got a seedling that's growing and it's only a few feet tall, you've got little branches coming off from it, yes, those branches are always going to be that low unless you cut them out, because that tree is growing from the tips. It is creating a fractal pattern, growing outwards and upwards. It's not expanding from all directions. So with that being said, I'm not telling you to cut off all of the branches that are super low on your tree as it's growing. We still need those branches for a certain period of time in order to give the plant nutrients and photosynthesis that it needs. So we need those branches on there for a certain period. Don't get too carried away when cutting out the bottom branches that are in the way, if you've seen this video now, because they do serve a purpose for a certain period of time. But after that, if a branch is in your way, cut it. It's not going anywhere. It's going to stay there. Yeah, it might go up like a couple of inches, but it's not going to grow at the same height as the tree. A 5-foot tree turns into a 50-foot tree. The branches down at the bottom don't just magically get up to the top and then no more branches grow on the bottom. Those branches have been there from the beginning of the tree, wherever it started to fractal out and grow. So I would be lying if I said I never questioned this myself. And in fact, I think I just asked the question probably a couple of years ago because I was curious. It didn't really make sense to me, or it did once I thought about it. But initially, you would think that as the tree grows and expands, the branches are going to get higher, but they really don't. So it's a little bit counterintuitive until you think about where the actual growth of the tree is coming from. It's coming from the buds and it's coming from the tips of the plant. So that's really all I've got for you today. I want to thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Thank you to all my returning subscribers. I appreciate it so much. It means the world to me and my family. The more and more support we can get, the faster we can pump out videos for you and possibly take this thing full time in the near future. And if you have not yet subscribed to, I greatly implore you to, because I love sharing my passion of growing. I want you to grow in your passion of growing. There's so many gardeners all around the world who just need a little bit of a spark, a little bit of education, maybe a little bit of fun in order to grow their experience and to grow their skills and gardening. I love to grow your gardening skills so you can grow more plants and grow stuff, because growing things is what I like to grow. Yeah. So thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode. Hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Happy gardening. Take care.